Welcome back to the channel, folks. It's Ryan from Movies with Ryan, and we're back with episode 4 of My Favorite 5. Now, in this one, we're going to be going over my 5 favorite movies from a certain actor. Now, this actor just recently announced his retirement after a long career due to medical reasons, and I hate to hear that. His movie catalog has been great. Of course, the last few years, it has kind of slacked off, and I am guilty just as much as anybody else of making fun of that. But in his prime, this actor had some great movies, and I'm going to go over my favorite 5. Of course, if you know who I'm talking about, if you keep up with your news, you know I'm talking about Bruce Willis. So the first thing I'm going to do is get into some honorable mentions, and then we'll go into my favorite 5. Now, looking over his career, he has had a lot of movies that I have enjoyed. Now, these are some of them that have not made the top 5. Things like 12 Monkeys, Armageddon, Jackal, Looper, which was a great sci-fi movie, 16 Blocks, Lucky Number 11, and Death Becomes Her. All these movies are great on their own. They easily could probably crack the top 5, but they're not. So, let's see what number 5 is. Coming in at number 5 is a movie I think easily could be higher on this list, but there are some movies I enjoy a little bit more. It is a Tarantino movie, and that is Pulp Fiction. Of course, Bruce Willis plays Butch Coolidge in this. I believe he is here, yes, on the back, on his chopper. So he is a boxer. And his arc in this movie is basically he's supposed to throw a fight for the main guy, Marcellus Wallace. And he throws the match to win a bunch of money, and he's going to get out of town. Well, in the process of getting out of town, shenanigans ensue. He ends up with Marcellus Wallace in a very, very, very bad predicament. Bad situation. They're in a pickle. Ball gags and all. But he really does redeem himself with Marcellus. And I really like his arc in this story. Plus, Pulp Fiction is just a great movie. Yeah, you can really say it's more about Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta's character. But Butch's is very integral in the arc with Marcellus to make this movie even better. So for my number 5, Bruce Willis, I got to pick Pulp Fiction. It's hard to beat Pulp Fiction, but my number 4 for me, I think, does it just a little bit. And I remember seeing this movie in the theater. I was like, what's this movie about? Who's this director? I've never heard of him. It's got Bruce Willis in it, so it's got to be good. It's got Haley Joel Osment in it. It's got to be good. What am I talking about? The Sixth Sense. Of course, this is the Zev exclusive steelbook. Love this movie. The first time I watched it in the movie theater, I was not expecting the twist. Of course, Bruce Willis is a doctor, Dr. Malcolm Crowe. And it starts out, he's in his bedroom, and he has a run-in with one of his clients, and he gets shot. And that's kind of it. Then we go through this story about how he meets this boy that he needs to help because the boy sees dead people. And the story just kind of plays out. And it really keeps you engaged. And it really makes you overlook all the little fine details that should add up to spoil the movie. And of course, the end of the movie, you come to find out that he is actually dead. And of course, you see the replay of everything that kind of went through, and you should have picked up on it in the first place. Movies like this for me usually are not rewatchable. But The Sixth Sense, every time I watch it, I always pick up something new. And the acting is just really good. Haley Joel does fantastic as Cole. And of course, Bruce Willis is fantastic. And it's one of the true, only good twists I think M. Night Shyamalan has ever done. So, for my number 4, we're going with The Sixth Sense. Moving on to number 3. You could almost make this as a comparison to Die Hard, only in space. And I am talking about The Fifth Element. Bruce Willis plays Corbin Dallas. She is a taxi driver. He's the everyday man. He's out there trying to make a living. And a little old lady falls in his lap. And of course, Lilo, played by Mila Jovovich, is on a mission to try to find the stones, to get them back, and save the world, basically. So here we have Bruce playing a character, everyday man that has to become the hero. I love this movie. The space aspect of it's really cool. His arc in it's really cool. I mean, he really doesn't want to do it, but he does want to do it. There's money involved. He sees more of a goal for himself than the whole picture. It's done really well. Of course, you've got Gary Oldman as Zorg in here. That is hilarious. Chris Tucker as Rudy Rod. Fantastic. Even though Chris Tucker usually grinds my gears a little bit, I really liked his character in this. I thought it really added to the atmosphere with him being the radio host and kind of showing off the whole movie for you, kind of being your guide. The one thing I definitely like about this, like I said, Bruce Willis being the everyday man in space, becoming the hero. Fifth Element, great movie, great soundtrack too. If you really want to test your sound system, put on the singing piece for the opera with the Blue Lady. Fantastic. But again, my number 3 choice, it is John McClane in space with The Fifth Element. For my number 2 pick, we actually go back to an M. Night Shyamalan movie, and I'm talking about the East Rail 177 trilogy of Unbreakable, Split, and Glass. Of course, Unbreakable is more or less the focus on this one, where Bruce Willis plays David Dunn. He is a security guy at a field for, I believe, high school or college sports, and he just has a knack for picking people out, bad people. And you really don't get the sense that he's a superhero or there's anything really special about him. He's just really good at his job. He's done it for a while. He just knows. And then something happens. There's a train crash. He's the only survivor. And then people start wondering. His son starts thinking that his dad's actually a superhero. He starts doing extraordinary things. And then come to find out, he just really is tough as nails. And they show his progression of becoming the Night Watch, I believe is what his character kind of becomes, where he's basically going out, beating up bad guys and helping people out. Of course, the big twist is Elijah Price, Glass, played by Samuel L. Jackson, come to find out that it was all a setup because he believes he lives in a comic book world. And he's super fragile. He breaks bones really easy, so he should have the extreme opposite human in the world. Of course, in the end of Unbreakable, good does, I would say, defeat evil in that one. Then you've got Split. Unbeknownst to anybody, I don't know how many years later, it's a sequel to Unbreakable. He shows up at the end because he has to remind people of what happened. And then we get Glass. I want to be disappointed in it, but I understand. M. Night kind of wanted to do, he was forced to do it. He didn't want to do it the way they wanted to do it, so he just did it anyway. And I don't like the ending arc. I mean, he drowns in a puddle of water, which was his fear. I think it was just a bad way for Bruce Willis's character to go. But the overall arc through all 3 movies, which I mean, you might as well say 2.5, his character does get redeemed, and he really does become a superhero, I believe. For someone that doesn't really care for M. Night Shyamalan, I really like how he took these movies. And that's why they become my number 2 and my favorite 5 Bruce Willis movies. All right, we're at a number 1. And if you stuck with me this long, I hope you know what my number 1 is, because I don't know anybody that likes Bruce Willis, and this isn't their number 1 movie. Of course, I'm talking about Die Hard. Die Hard is a fantastic movie. Part 2 is great. Part 3 is great. Part 4 is okay. Part 5 we won't talk about. But Die Hard. Of course, Bruce Willis plays John McClane, a New York police officer that has to go back to Los Angeles with his wife, or to see his wife, for her company's Christmas party at the Great Nakatomi Plaza. Of course, Alan Rickman plays Hans Gruber, which him and his henchmen take over the building. And I'm going to lay this out now. Put it to rest. I'll argue this to my grave, but let's put it to rest. Die Hard is a Christmas movie. The whole basis of Hans' plans working is that the building is shut down for Christmas. There's minimal people there. There will be minimal interruption, and security is almost non-existent and laxed. If he were to try to do this any other time of the year, it would not work. If Bruce Willis wasn't there, John McClane wasn't there, he would have got away with this. But Die Hard is absolutely a Christmas movie. It hinges on the whole fact that it is Christmas for the whole setup. Let's get past that though. John McClane, the everyday cop. Yes, you can call cops heroes, but he's just a normal working man. And he gets into a situation where his wife's life is on the line and he's got to do something about it. And ho, 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 he's got a machine gun. And yippee-ki-yay, does he ever do it. He kills them all. It's just lovely. And of course, the scene in the end where he has his final showdown with Hans Gruber. He knows that Hans Gruber is not one of the people at the party. He just puts two and two together with the cigarettes and the watch. It's fantastic. And watching Alan Rickman's face as that watch comes unclasped, and he falls is fantastic. But Die Hard, very rewatchable. It's a great action flick. It's a great bromance kind of movie. I mean, his interactions he has with Sergeant Al Powers, what's his name? Reginald Vell Johnson from Family Matters, is fantastic. Those exchanges are great. Just everything about the movie is fantastic. And that's why it becomes my number one Bruce Willis movie of all time. And since he's retiring, it will stay my number one Bruce Willis movie of all time. That's going to do it for this episode, episode 4 of My Favorite 5, Bruce Willis. That is my countdown of my 5 favorite movies from this gentleman, from this actor, from this great American asset that we call an actor. And it's unfortunate that he's got health problems and he's going to have to retire. I wish him well. But thank you for joining me. Again, this is Ryan from Movies with Ryan. Please like, please subscribe, please hit that bell notification. I greatly appreciate it. Now, today is Wednesday when this video comes out. Tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Jagoda Blue 7's YouTube channel, we are doing Heat Street. Now, what is Heat Street? Jagoda has put together a fantastic panel. He's got Jerry from IG, from Instagram. He's got 4K D-Ray, Tim Talks Talkies, and me on a panel, and we're talking about 5 of our holiest of grails in our collection. Now, this could be simple Blu-rays, this could be collection sets, steelbooks, DVDs, VHSs, Laserdisc, anything under the sun. So I hope you join us. Again, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, Jagoda Blue 7's channel. I'll put his channel down below. Please join us. And like I always say, this has been Ryan from Movies with Ryan. Until I see you again, which will hopefully be tonight, have a fantastic time.